Yo, what is up, Hoophead Nation? It's been quite some time. This is Eddie Aparicio and Anthony Tuan Corral, also known as the Cisco Kids, and this is Buzzer Beaters. This is a podcast that's dedicated to basketball. It's been like 3 months since we've been here because the NBA was off, but NBA is back on since yesterday.
Yes,
so,
sir.
What we're gonna go ahead and do, this is episode 60. So if you haven't been here before, where you been, right? But anyway, this is episode 60. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into the topics. What we're gonna talk about, we typically go through like 3 or 4 topics per week. And this time we're gonna go ahead and talk about last night's games. The first of all is the Rockets and Thunder, and then the Warriors and Lakers. We actually got treated to 2 good games last night. We're gonna go through that, give you our kind of observations and thoughts, and then we're gonna talk a dovetail into the Warriors, right? This is our team. This is you can see in the back, my little logo back here. We're Warrior fans. We're both from San Francisco.
Yep.
The Warriors is who we love. And, we're going to essentially kind of change the way our podcast is. We've been primarily kind of covering all of the NBA. We're still going to do that, but we're always going to have a segment about the Warriors every week, all right? Because this is our thing. We're Warrior fans, and I know there's a lot of Warrior fans out there. I know a lot of you are pretty interested to see what happens with this team, given that they're a bunch of geriatrics, but this team actually looks pretty decent, man. All right, and then the next thing is we're going to talk about some of the predictions. Every year, the last couple years that we've been doing this, Tuan and I have been going through conference seedings. We're going to go ahead and give you our predictions. We're also going to give you our end of the season award predictions. Tuan and I kind of compete on things all the time, and that's what and then we also have this. The last thing is the rookie fantasy league. We drafted 5 players from this rookie class, and then we kind of created our own fantasy league, and we're going to kind of go over that a little bit. It's not a long segment, but it just kind of gets kind of the juices, the competitive juices between us. But anyway, before we get into it, bro, how you been, man? What's happening, man?
I've been good. It's been a little bit of a crazy summer. Been working on the house a little bit, doing some remodeling in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I may have mentioned this in the past. Been building like a little bar in honor of my mom, in the backyard. So I kind of did a grand opening on that over the summer. My daughter, who's living in LA, moved back home. So she's been in the house. Yeah. So that's kind of a change for us. And then my youngest one is finishing up she's going to community college. She's finishing up her second year and then is looking at NYU.
Too far away, dude. What the hell, man?
Yeah, so someone's gonna have to send me money, bro. So if you guys got money out there, you better send me some because NYU is not cheap.
I'm paying for like Loyola Marymount, dude, and Loyola Marymount is probably more expensive than NYU, bro. Even with the out-of-state fees, I'm telling you that right now, bro. It's an expensive ass school, and I'm actually going there. Actually, leaving tomorrow, man, because it's a family weekend up at LMU this weekend, and all the colleges seem to have this. Done what? Like Guillermo looks like he wants to join the stream. Did you want to join the stream there, Guillermo? Oh, looks like he just whatever. All right, I was going to add him, but anyway, forget it. But I was going to add him, and then he dropped off. Anyway, all the colleges seem to do their family weekends on the same weekend. So, I know a few other colleges, other friends that have their kids going to school, they're all doing it this weekend too. So it's good that they all have it kind of, coordinated. So, but anyway, bro,
I'm sure that's good for traffic purposes.
For sure. Yeah. So before we get into it, we're brought to you by gremlingsmedia.com. You can find us there, but you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So we just want to go ahead and say that. And then, so the way we kind of do the show is we're going to do lately in the past, we've been doing about an hour to hour and a half. We're cutting it short. We're going to try and get this to within, 40 minutes max, 45. We might go a little bit, but I'm going to press us on this, Tuan. We're not going to go ahead and try and we're going to stay within time is what I'm trying to say. Right. So anyway, All right, bro. So last night, man. All right, did you watch the double overtime game with the Rockets and Thunder?
So no, because I was one of the few people that actually have Peacock. So I was more interested in watching the Warriors than I was in watching that game. So I jumped off to watch the early first quarter of the Warriors game. So I did not watch it. I did watch the whole game up until right until they went into the overtime. And then I did it. And I've been reading. Obviously, there was some controversy about Kevin Durant asking for a timeout. He should have got
a tackle. Yeah, he pulled the Chris Webber,
So I'm gonna let you walk me through that because I didn't watch that part.
Well, so he did it. I mean, he was kind of doing it very subtly, right? But he definitely was making the sign, and he actually was. I guess we couldn't hear it, as the audience listening to the game, but apparently he was actually also saying it, right? But it was at a critical point of the game, and he got the rebound, called timeout, but it didn't do it very demonstratively. He did it kind of like he wasn't sure if he had a timeout.
Yeah,
he didn't have a timeout. And of course, Mark Dagnall, the coach of the Thunder, he went all ape crap about it and was trying to But anyway, you could just see the first game is always kind of a tune-up game for the players, but it's also a tune-up game for the refs, right? And the refs missed the call, unfortunately. And I'm sure, the league's going to review it and say, oh, I'm sorry, but we messed up, but oh, well, too bad. That's that, right? But, dude, I got to tell you, the one of the first observations I want to say about the Rockets, they are a problem because they're long. The problem is, though, is that I think losing Fred VanVleet is going to hurt this team, man.
They don't have a true point guard.
They don't have a true point guard. Although I got to say, Amen Thompson did a valiant effort to be a point guard, but he's not. It's not his position, right? Yeah. Somebody who's a very good defensive, a guard is going to pick him apart, man, because it's not his natural. I mean, he's going to get better at dribbling and stuff. I mean, he's not a bad dribbler, but it's just like he's a taller guy. He's a very defensive oriented guy, but. They had to do it out of necessity because Fred VanVleet was their point guard. Now that he's lost for the season, right? Yep. So, but even with that, the guy that I got to point out besides Kevin Durant, dude, he's a walking bucket, man. I mean, he's still at his advanced age. He's a walking bucket.
Yeah, no. Whenever he wants 2 points, he gets.
He can go wherever he wants, man. Yep, but then the guy that really, really stood out to me was Alperen Sengun, man. That dude was a machine. He was actually shooting 3-pointers at a 40% clip. He was ridiculous. He was shooting out of his mind. So I just wanted to say that this team, they started Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun at the same time, and that's a huge lineup, man. And I think it was the first time that everybody in their lineup was above 6'10", 6'10" or right around there and above, right? So that's a big lineup, bro.
Yeah, I think Amen Thompson is 6'7". I think Amen Thompson is 6'7", and everybody above that is 6'9" or taller. Yeah. And I read a little stat. This the tallest starting lineup in the past 50 years in the NBA.
Yeah. And they you can just tell this team is going. They're very defensive minded. I mean, both these teams are very defensive minded. Even though the score was 125 to 124.
Oh, yeah, still double overtime though.
Still double overtime, but these teams, they're all about defense, right? That's their main thing. And like we talked about this in past podcasts, that the Thunder, I think, have changed the complexion of how the NBA is going to be architecting teams moving forward, right? The age of the Warriors, the outside shooting, having a bunch of shooters, it's still there, right? But I think that the new archetype of a team is the way the Thunder are doing it, and I think a lot of GMs are going to start doing that. And you can see kind of the Houston Rockets are very similar. They're constructed very similarly, right? They're very defensive-minded guys. Those are probably two of the best defensive teams in the league right now, right? So, but anyway, so any other parting shots on that game before we dovetail to the Warriors?
No, just like you mentioned, Sengun did have a hell of a game. One thing that I'm always, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit more when we get to the Warriors, is I'm always wary of any performance where the player is hot from the 3-point line, right? I always want to see how the player performs when he's not, right? And that's going to come and go. So Sengun had himself a hot night. Yeah, he's looking good. Amen Thompson, like I said, he's my up-and-comer for this season. I think
for sure.
That you got to watch out for. And, don't be surprised if somewhere down the line, they're looking to trade for a point guard. VanVleet's out for an extended period of time, so we'll see how long that's going to be. But I assume that they're going to have to do that because I don't think that right now they have the personnel to cover for that. They got Shepherd, who's been doing a okay job.
He actually had a pretty good game last night, man.
Yeah, he's going to get a pretty good game last night. But the thing about him is he's much more a scoring guard, right? And they need much more of a distributing guard, at least at this point. Obviously, he can do that. But the other thing I wanted to point out on that game was, you were talking about opening night, for refs, the team, the players, all of that. It's also opening night for NBC, which to me they had a pretty big blunder there, where they didn't have two channels they could go to. They didn't
Right.
anticipate, the first game
Right.
going into overtime.
Going
And,
double
most
overtime.
people don't
Right.
even know what the hell Peacock is. Like, what's
Yep.
Peacock? I don't have Peacock, and so
I don't either.
fortunately I do. I don't know why I do,
Yeah.
but I do. And so I was able to switch over. But they're going to have to figure that out because, ESPN, whenever they have a situation like that, they have both their ABC affiliate and the ESPN channel. So they
ESPN,
just
yep.
go switch to the other, right? So if the main is ESPN, go to ABC or vice versa or whatever. TNT has this like TBS and a couple of their other networks. So, Peacock's going to have to figure something out because this is probably
They're
going to
have
happen.
to figure something out. Yeah, they have to. I mean, they have other networks that they can go ahead and just bridge the other game too, right? I mean, they could do it. It's just that they're trying to promote their streaming, channel. So, but anyway, man. So let's go to the Warriors and Laker game, right? So this was a highly anticipated game for us because we're Warrior fans, and this team is constructed of a bunch of older guys, right? We got Al Horford right now. He's 39 years old. I think he might be the second oldest guy in the NBA behind LeBron now, right? So then you got Jimmy Butler, and then you got Draymond, and then you got Steph. I mean, 4 of the 5 starters, are advanced age, right? And then, this whole offseason, you hear about the drama with Jonathan Kuminga, right? What's going to happen? And we were all kind of like wondering, the Warriors were the only team in the NBA, after the draft, that they were the last team to make any moves, right? Correct. And the main reason is because of Jonathan Kuminga, because he was a restricted free agent. He wanted to go ahead and control his future and didn't want the team to have too much power over him because of his restricted age, restricted free agent kind of position that he had. So he was kind of holding the team a little bit hostage and making any moves. But luckily the Warriors already had kind of like, verbal deals already lined up for DeAnthony Melton, Gary Payton, and Al Horford, which ended up that's once Kuminga was signed, these other guys signed and away we go, right? Yeah. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because Moses Moody was supposed to be the starter for this game, but he actually has an injury, like not a major injury, but then I think Steve Kerr has definitely rewarded Jonathan Kuminga for his efforts that he displayed in the preseason. And this is something that you and I had talked about at lunch. I'm telling you, bro, Jonathan Kuminga looks like a whole different player. And I told you that, when we were doing the preseasons, and you're like, yeah, but I don't know, we got to see more proof. I get it, bro. But he was doing everything that the team needs. And I got to say, man, if we get this version of Jonathan Kuminga moving forward on most nights, the Warriors are going to be a tough out, man. They're going to be a problem. And as a matter of fact, before I want to get your take, I brought this up to you at lunch. That's ESPN about almost 2 weeks ago had the simulation of all the games, and the 2 teams that they put in the finals in their simulation were the Warriors versus the Orlando Magic. Now, you could say the Warrior, the ESPN, they're trying to get as much out of the Warriors because the Warriors have been kind of the ticket for quite some time for ESPN, right? They've been a very popular team over the last 10 years. And this is kind of like maybe their last hurrah to get as many viewership, as many viewers to watch the Warrior games again. But even when you talk to the local radio station, they had Nick Friedel, who covers the NBA, and he thinks that the Warriors are a 3 seed in the NBA. A 3
That's a little high.
Okay?
That's a little high, but
a little high. We're gonna go through our predictions, but I just want to point out, after watching last night's game, the Warriors didn't necessarily, they didn't compete against a full Lakers squad because LeBron didn't play. But Luka is a problem, dude. I mean, they couldn't contain him. But the Warriors, even with all that, they threw about 11. They were 11 people that they threw at him in the rotation, and the big strength about this Warrior team is they're deep. They are very deep. And the thing is, if these young guys show up like Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, Santos, Post, all these guys, if they fill in, on nights when the veterans really can't play, they're going to be a problem, bro, because they're that deep. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of lay the stage for you, man. I want to get your thoughts on all this. What you thought of the game last night and what you think about them moving forward, bro.
So my first thought, and I was talking about 3-pointers, Kuminga had himself a nice 3-point scoring night, which again makes me, a happy Kuminga's a better Kuminga, right?
Yep.
I want to see a less happy Kuminga. So, but I agree with you. He looked very energetic,
Absolutely.
very lively. One play that stands out to me is he broke down the defense, came in to score, and he dishes it off to Al Horford for an easy layup. That's something that is a growth for him.
Absolutely.
So there was, I saw him fighting for rebounds. I think he had 9 rebounds. Some of them weren't gimmies. Some of them were rebounds that he actually fought for. So there was a lot of good things about Kuminga. The one thing that I will say that was bothering me now, he was guarding Doncic for the majority of the night.
Of the game.
So I will give him a slack. But dude, he needs to move his feet on defense. His feet are like really lazy on defense. He's swiping a lot with his hands. He's reaching a lot. And so I just need him to move his, when Kuminga gets by him, he's like chasing, or when Doncic gets by him, he's like chasing Doncic.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do is just stay parallel with him, right?
Yeah.
Like mirror him down the court.
Yeah.
And
he has the quickness to do it.
He just letting him get ahead.
Yeah. And he has the quickness to do it. It's just that, dude, it's opening night. He'll figure it out.
Oh, no. Agreed. I'm nitpicking. He had a real good game. But you and I have talked. I don't know if his team defense will ever be there, but his individual defense should be something that he could shine in. And these were situations that I was looking at, because he's a fast player. At least offensively, he's got a very quick step. So he should be able to stay ahead of these defensive players. The other observation that I will say is, when Moody comes back, based on last night, my recommendation if I had a vote in this situation is that Moody replaced Pods, not Kuminga. Right, so it's
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Pods is having a hard time.
He's pressing, man. He's pressing. You could tell he's not relaxed anymore. He's pushing. He's kind of like the way Kuminga was a couple years ago, right? He's kind of pushing. He knows he knows he's good, but he knows that he's got a contract coming up. But he's not letting the game come to him now. That's what he was doing before. He was letting the game come to him, and he played in a system that has a Steph Curry, has a Jimmy Butler, where the weight of scoring isn't necessarily on his shoulders. He just has to do all the dirty work. And now he just seems to be pressing. It's not. The game's not coming to him, man. But I agree with you. I think Moses Moody might be the guy that would replace Podziemski, and then that maybe will motivate Podziemski to do all the things that now Kuminga's doing, right? So
now the big thing is, in that lineup that they started, Draymond started as the center. And I know for a fact that Kerr's not going to want to do that a lot. Right? Yeah. So that means Horford's going to start some games. So when Horford starts, does that drop Kuminga from the starting lineup? Is it either Horford or Kuminga in that type of situation? Or is it, basically you only have 2 pieces, right? It can either be Moody or Kuminga, right? That Horford replaces one or the other. Jimmy could slide up to the 2, Kuminga at the 3, Draymond at the 4, and then Horford at the 5. Right, that's one way, or you drop Kuminga for Horford, and then now the same kind of what I just described with Moody at the 2. So we'll see how that goes. You and I had a conversation about Buddy Hield. He had a good game last night.
He had a really good game last night.
He was hot. One thing to note too, I guess they released Seth Curry. Maybe it's some sort of salary cap thing.
It is. They're going to re-sign him
a month's time. So we'll see what kind of role he's going to play. But I agree, he's deep. Quentin Post came in, didn't really have much of an impact.
Just 90 minutes of action is all he had.
Correct. The other guy that I want to point out, dude, and you better look out, GP2, because Will Richard's on your butt.
Yeah.
Will Richard is on your butt, dude, and you better be careful because you're going to lose time. That kid can ball. I mean, he's straight up a defensive demon. And I was really excited about watching him, and that's the kind of player that, Kerr likes to play. That's the kind of player that, he likes to put in for defensive stops. GP2 had a couple of lapses. He missed a layup. There was a couple things that he had. So that's going to be interesting to watch that dynamic as the season moves forward.
Dude, and Will Richard, as a rookie, got 14 minutes last night, bro. Yes. On a team that has Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry, and others that have a lot more experience than him, and he got 14 minutes. Correct. That's telling you that the coaching staff really likes what this guy's doing. Yeah, you got a point. He's going to be a specialist, just like GP2. They're going to come in spurts, like 5 to 10 minute spurts, depending on what is needed, right? To go maybe try and frustrate a Luka Doncic, for instance, right?
Correct.
That's going to be their role. And you're right, man. I mean, the thing is that they have a lot of depth now, man, and this is great, man. And this is gonna, I think, in my opinion, is going to be the difference for this team: health and depth. In my opinion, I think they're the deepest team in the NBA right now. And I'm not being a homer on that. I'm just looking at their entire squad, and they are deep.
You have a point. You have a point, and we talked about this earlier as well. Is last year, Kerr had like a 10-man rotation, right? And the talk of last season was, can they keep this up? Can you actually be successful? And eventually, it kind of fell to the wayside. Some of it was because Melton got hurt. We had other things that happened last year. So this year, I'm going to be really curious as to how Kerr plays this, because I don't think he wants to necessarily have a 10-man rotation. I think he wants to tighten it up, but I think it's going to take some time. So Horford isn't going to play on back-to-backs, right? So after tomorrow on what's tomorrow? Thursday, Friday, the Warriors play Portland, and I'm curious to see who's going to start.
They play Denver Thursday, bro.
They play Denver tomorrow, and then they play Portland, and Horford won't play Friday, right? He's not going to play back-to-backs. So I'm really curious as to who gets those minutes. Is it Quentin Post? Is it TJD? Who's going to get the big?
Probably going to be TJD. He's a little burlier guy. I mean, he can kind of push around Jokic and probably foul out within like 2 quarters. But they don't have any. Nobody in the league has anywhere that can contain Jokic, right? They just
for tomorrow though. For tomorrow, Horford will play. Horford will play tomorrow. He won't play against Portland.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the Portland doesn't really have somebody other than, Klingon is their guy, but he's not a threat offensively. He's a threat defensively. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there, bro.
Yeah.
All right, man. So, any other last parting shots on the Warriors?
A couple things I wanted to note on the Lakers side. I don't know what the deal with Vanderbilt is. I think he's a great defensive player. They didn't play him much last night. They decided to play Gabe Vincent. Which is a much smaller defender, especially.
They needed shooting, man. They needed shooting. That's the reason.
No, I guess you're right, but I don't know. And I don't know if you saw like what looked to me like LeBron was moping on the whole side. I don't know what was going on with him.
I know there's a lot of commentary about that. Like, just his body language is just off. It just looked different. He just looked kind of like disappointed, distraught. I don't know what the word is, but he just didn't look, like he was enjoying himself there, man. He looked like he just was, like he had to be there and wasn't enjoying it, right?
Yeah,
very interesting.
I agree. And if I'm a Laker fan, I'm a little distraught because there's not many games where you're going to get better scoring production from Austin Reeves and Luka than you were yesterday. And to lose by 10 and get that production, that's a little bit kind of offsetting. And then DeAndre Ayton, I think is going to be a problem, Eddie. I think
he doesn't fit. Like, he doesn't fit very well, is what you're saying.
I don't think he fits anywhere, to be honest. I just. I'm not sure. Maybe as a backup center somewhere, but as a starting center, I think he might be a problem. So we'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on that. But those are just my observations from the Lakers side. They got a lot of I forgot how annoying Smart can be. Dude, that dude's annoying.
He is annoying.
Yeah,
he is annoying. But he was getting a little dirty too. You saw that.
Yeah. Well, then and he does that when he feels like he's getting the losing end of whatever side of the argument he's on. He'll start to get a little bit more. He had 4 fouls by the first half. So he was pretty much.
He's a hack, man. That's what we call him in the streets. Is a hack, man.
A little bit of a hack. Yeah, I agree. So anyway, those are my observations on the Lakers.
Right on, man.
How about you? Did you have any observations on the Lakers?
No, the only thing is Luka looks really freaking good, man. He hasn't lost the step. He hasn't lost the strength. He played a lot of minutes last night. He was out of gas at the end. But even towards the end, he was still making incredible shots. The guy is just an incredible shot maker, man. And he just looks really good, man. That's all I got to say. So when LeBron gets back, whenever he gets back, we will be able to kind of really measure how good this Laker team is really going to be. Because those two guys together could be a problem if they know how to play again with each other. I think they do.
Yeah.
But they need a shooter. Gabe Vincent can shoot. Dalton Connect can shoot, but he didn't really play that much last night. But what's interesting, bro? In looking at the Vegas odds, the Warriors are the 10th favorite to win the title. The Lakers are the 3rd, bro. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that may be a little LeBron.
I'm like, what
on there?
Anyway,
I don't know if I see that, especially with, in my opinion, LeBron. Even though LeBron is they're both pretty good passers. Even though Luka and LeBron are good passers, their games don't match. they're kind of fighting for the same role.
Well, they're both ball dominant guys, man. Really.
Yeah, they're both ball dominant guys that are looking to create the pass, and neither of them are particularly good at receiving the pass. And so it's going to be interesting, kind of how that plays out long term. So I'm not 100% sold on that dynamic. I think if LeBron played yesterday, the Warriors still would have won, but the scoring would have been more split between Luka and LeBron, right? Luka would have just scored less, and LeBron would have made up the difference. Something like that is kind of what I'm envisioning.
The one observation that I want to make is that the Warriors look like they were in control and command the entire game, man. They looked a little bit, in my opinion, sometimes a little bit overconfident, honestly, to me. Just watching their body, they were kind of going through the motions. They know they were better than them. They know they didn't have to deal with LeBron. And, when you kind of have that complacent attitude, things can happen, right? And they lost an 18-point lead, down to 5, within, a quarter. And, but with LeBron in there, they would have been a lot sharper. And I think if LeBron was there, the outcome would have been very similar. They just would have been a lot more focused. They wouldn't have been like messing around like they were last night, because they were messing around last night. So, all right, bro. So we are done on this segment. We are now going to go into our predictions, man. So you can go ahead and you have some slides here. I know I have to do controls of this thing because we're going to have to figure out why you can't get in, but I'm going to go ahead and add the scene here.
And you gotta put our faces in there somehow, Eddie.
Oh yeah, that's right. How do I do that?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you earlier.
Oh shoot. Okay. You know what? And I don't even. Oh wait. Let me see. Thumbnails, picture in picture, shot half screen. There we go. Now, but the only thing, bro, is that the
pick a different one.
Okay. So let's see. How do I do this? Yeah, dude. I haven't done this, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. All right. Now we're smaller. This is something that our producers don't like because they want us to be the stars of the show. They want our faces to be dominant on these screens, but sometimes we have to show the content, right? Now, we're going to show slides every week, but we're not going to make it the stars of the show. But we wanted to show you, for those of you who are not, online and listening to us, but you're, maybe driving, listening to our podcast. If you are, thanks for the ride, because we enjoy the ride with you. But anyway, so what we have here is last year we went ahead and did this, and there's a lot of information here. But what I want to kind of lay out for you is, on the west, those are the orange. That's kind of the orange kind of columns. And then the east, those are the blue columns that you can see there. And these are our projected rankings that we have for Tuan and mine, respectively. Tuan will be the first one on both of the conferences that you see there. The west being the first one, if you go from left to right, and the east being, the one on the right. But what you'll see here is that there's a lot of information here. But what I want to kind of step you through, for those of you who are online, what you can see here is, for example, Tuan, he has the Thunder as the top seed projected. I also have the top seed projected. But you're going to see here the NC and the one next to it. NC means that is no change from last year's projections that we had for this. Okay. And one tells you where they actually ended up last year. Okay. Yep. So that's what these parentheses tell you. So for you have the Rockets, as the number 2 seed, this year, right? I have the Nuggets. So you can see the Rockets, you have them as the 2 seed, but you actually had them as the 9 seed last year. So they went up 7 slots to where you were projecting them this year, but they ended up being the 2nd seed last year, which is what you're seeing in the parentheses, right? So that's what that's what I want to point out. So you can see, and by the way, we have this point system. We don't have, see on the little green boxes there on the bottom this week and last week. We're going to go ahead and keep track of how we're doing. And there's a total of possible of 75 points per conference, all right? So that's 150 points, and we got it exactly right, because the point system that we're choosing is we pick, if we have the exact slot that these predictions are at, we're going to get 5 points, right? And if we're only like 1 slot off either direction, that's 3 points. But if you're 2 slots, it's going to be 2 points, but any more than that is 0 points, right? So last year, Tuan and I, we had not even 100 points. We were like at 40 or 50 points combined, right? I mean, for both of us, in that range. I think I have exactly what we were last year. Yep. Last year, you had a total of you had 61 points. I had 58 points total. All right. So you won the conference seedings last year.
So I edged you out. That's all I want to hear.
Me out by
that
3
I won.
points.
That's it.
But out of a total of 150 points, you had 61 points. I had 58
not even half.
points.
That's not even half right.
Not even half right. So it just tells you that this is actually a really hard thing to predict, right? So, but anyway, so that's what I wanted to kind of show you. So Twan, let's go through your list really quick. You have on the West, you have the Thunder, the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Wolves, right? Then the Warriors. You have the Warriors at 5th. Now we already talked about ESPN has them at round 3 or winning the championship, right?
Correct.
Lakers below the Warriors at the 6th seed. Then you have the Mavs at the 7th seed, and then all the way down you have the Clippers kind of being a play-in team, which they're the oldest team in the NBA. So they're the Warriors and the Lakers are the Warriors and the Clippers are the 2 oldest teams in the league, and you have the Clippers being below the Warriors. Then you have the Spurs or Grizzlies, Spurs, Pelicans, Kings, Blazers, Suns, and then the Jazz being the last seed. Anything you want to call out here? I can tell you the big droppers from last year to this year. You have the Wolves dropping 2 slots. You have the Mavs dropping 4 slots from where they were last year. Then you have the Pelicans 4th, dropping 4 slots. And then you also have the Kings dropping 6 slots. Very interesting. So I'll let you kind of comment on why you chose it the way you chose it, if there's anything you want to point out.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, the 3 biggest interesting teams are the 3 Texas teams, right? The Rockets, the Mavericks, and the Spurs. I think that they were, to me, the hardest to judge. Now, I think the Rockets have a lot of talent. I don't know if they have a lot of postseason talent, but I think they're going to win a lot of regular season games just because of their length and their even without Van Fleet, even with Amen Thompson running the point guard, I think they're going to be pretty successful. The Nuggets, I think, they're a very good team, and ultimately I think they'll be better than the Rockets. I just don't think they'll, in terms of the regular season, I don't think they'll have much motivation to try to be like, the 1 or 2 seed. I think they're going to hover right around the 3. Outside of that, I look at the Mavs. The Mavs are going to depend a lot on Cooper Flagg to run point. Jason Kidd's already said that. I think, it's going to be a new thing for him. So it's going to be kind of hard for him to kind of figure it out year 1, which is why I have him as the 7th seed. I do like their makeup as a team. There's also the consideration that their power forward gets hurt very often. Anthony Davis gets hurt a lot. And so, I got to take that into consideration. The Clippers, for example, they're a very talented team as well. But, they're going through some drama with all of this kind of illegal money that was filtered to Kawhi Leonard. And normally I wouldn't care, except Kawhi Leonard's a pretty sensitive guy. And so I know this is nonsense to put into, but these are the thoughts that were going through my mind as I'm kind of organizing all of this. But I think, I think that it's going to be really tight. If you remember, I believe last year, the Warriors ended up as the 7th seed and the Lakers ended up as the 3rd seed. And I want to say there was just 2 games difference.
They were the 4th seed.
Oh, they were the 4th seed. And I want to say it was just like 2 games difference, So I envision this is going to be very tight this year. Outside of that, I think the Grizzlies, they lost Desmond Bane. So I think that's going to hurt them. I think the Spurs, the Spurs can be a shocking team. Outside of that, I don't see the Pelicans being much better, the Kings being much better. The Blazers, I think, will be good, but, I could maybe have put them above the Kings and the Pelicans. I just kind of show me type of situation for me. And then the Suns and Jazz, I just don't think they're going to be that great.
Yeah, it's interesting as I was looking at our West standings, comparing ours, to each other. We have the same for the Thunder, right? That's kind of a no-brainer. Then we also have the same for the Wolves at the 4th seed. We both picked them to be at the 4th seed. We also picked the Spurs, both of us, at the 10th seed. Yes. And then we both picked the Jazz as the last team in the West. Correct. Right? Other than that, there are, you have the Mavs finishing below the Warriors. I have the Mavs finishing above the Warriors. Correct. You have the Clippers below the Warriors. So do I, but only by 1 slot. We both have the Grizzlies below the Warriors as well. And then the second to last team, you picked the Suns. I picked the Kings, right? Yeah. I have the Suns a little higher. I still think they have, some talent. Devin Booker can take them somewhat far, but we'll see. This is where the points are going to be made is, the seeds from 9th below, right? I think the 1 through 7 or 8, I think that, there's not going to be much movement there, man. So, all right, man. So let's go to the next one. We got the East. We're going to quickly cover this real quick. we're not going to go ahead and go through the conversations that we just covered here because we want to get this within the next 10 minutes and finish our podcast, right?
Yep.
All right. So you have the Cavs being the number 1 seed. I have the Knicks. I have the Cavs as the 2nd seed. You have the Knicks as the 2nd seed. We both picked the Magic. Interesting enough, we both picked the Pistons at 4th, right? Now, we both picked the Bucks at the 6th seed. We both differ on the 5th seed. You had the Hawks. I have the Heat.
Yeah,
very interesting. Yep. Very interesting. Now, I'll tell you this: the one team that I think is going to have a big jump, bro, from last year, and it's not really showing here on the screen here, but if you look at my rankings, the number 8th seed I have is the Raptors. I have them moving up 3 spots because they were the 11th seed last year. I have them moving up to the 8th spot. I think that team is going to be really good, man, because they have Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Harry. Well, anyway, but
don't call me Harry.
Don't call me Harry. That's right. But anyway, that team, I think that they are going to be a team that's going to move. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be surprising a lot of teams in this league. That's why I'm picking them up to go up. You have them as the 12th seed, right? Pacers, interesting enough, we both have them at the 9th seed. Very interesting. Yep. Bulls, we have them similar, like the 10 or 11. The Celtics, we also have them kind of going low too. You have them at 10. I have them at 12. The Nets, you have them at the very bottom. I have the Wizards still being at the very bottom, but the Hornets being the 14th seed on for both of us, right? So, but these are our predictions. We're going to go ahead and show you, our progress throughout through each show. It's going to be a quick little cover. Just going to kind of want to see how we're doing. We tried to make this as a contest last season. We wanted to kind of have you guys participate and post, but nobody posted. It's all right. You can just enjoy our banter on how we're covering this stuff anyway.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, bro. Anything we want to cover before we move on?
No. I think we're good. We got the groundwork here, and we'll follow it. Probably once a month.
Okay, cool. So that I should have put that little thing right there, but we're gonna move on to the next one. All right, we got end of season awards, man. That's the next slide. All right, so this is what we had last year. Again, what we have here. If you see, there's 2 tables. There's one on the right and there's one on the left. The one on the right is what our predictions were for last year. Right now, I ended up doing better than Twan on that only because I had more votes, right, combined for most of these things. But you can see. Jason Tatum, I had him as the MVP. He had 6 votes. Luka Doncic was not even rated. Okay, so that's just when
he got hurt. He got hurt.
He couldn't qualify, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Williams, he had 7 votes. Whereas my Jonathan Kuminga, he was not even rated. Victor Wembanyama, not rated because he was injured. Zach Edey, he got 4 votes for Rookie of the Year. So, and then I had Ben Mathurin. You had Dante DiVincenzo, both not rated. And then I had, of course, Steve Kerr as the coach of the year. He had 4 votes. Mark Daigneault had 7, and they won the championship, right? Yeah. Very interesting. All right, so if we go to the left, these are our predictions, man. So, all right, so I'll go ahead and tell. We both picked Nikola Jokic, right? Yep. All right, most improved, man. I'll let you cover that, man. Why Amen Thompson?
Well, I think that last year, his defense, he impressed me during the whole series. I thought he was a very good defensive player. And I thought this year would be the year that his offense is going to start stepping up. And obviously we know that in these awards, what people look at is offense. So I think given his numbers last year and the numbers that he'll do this year, I think he's going to do a significant jump in his offensive production. He also has to now. He has to because he's the correct. Right. And also given the fact that Kevin Durant is on his team, as we know, that's going to open up a lot more opportunities for him to score because there's going to be defense focused on Kevin Durant, which is why I picked Amen Thompson.
Okay, interesting. I picked our boy Harry. Okay.
Yes.
Harry Grady, whatever.
Grady. His last name. Harry.
Yeah. Dick. Anyway, Dick. All right. So I have that's a surprising pick, right? And I'm only picking it because I think he's an up and coming player. He's not necessarily starting. I think he kind of gets spot starts, but he's actually, he's a good player. And I think he's going to just show out. Like it's kind of like the theme of what I was trying to say is that the Raptors, I think, are going to be a team that's going to move up quite a bit compared to last year. So I kind of think he's going to be kind of the one of the main ingredients of that rise. So that's why I picked him as a most improved.
Now that makes sense. You're supporting your other pick. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then Victor Wembanyama we both picked. All right. So we both picked the same MVP.
As long as he doesn't get hurt, dude, he's going to win.
As long as he doesn't get hurt, right? And supposedly he grew like another 2 inches, man. Did you hear about that? Like 7, he's like 7'5", 7'6", or something like that. Anyway,
he's so selfish. I want the 2 inches. Let me grow 2 more inches, dude. What's going on?
Okay, so now Rookie of the Year. Now this is Cooper Flagg is gonna he's odds on
the
favorite,
default.
Right?
Yeah, he's the.
He's
I went the easy route.
But you pick So I picked Dylan Harper, but I gotta tell you the other guy who showed out tonight, dude, is VJ Edgecombe. That dude looks good, man.
Yes.
I mean, I was contemplating him, but I'm gonna put Dylan Harper. The only I think the Spurs are not gonna start him, but I think he's in a good situation to flourish. But I think Cooper Flagg, honestly, is probably the odds-on favorite if he doesn't get hurt, just because he's the point guard on a team that's already pretty good, right? So I think that's a good pick, man. I just didn't want to pick it because I just wanted to be different, bro.
No, that's fine. Ace Bailey was someone that was floating around in my head.
You're considering that, okay?
Production games and yeah, so I mean, this is a numbers situation, so he may have more opportunity than Cooper does, but we'll see in terms of scoring, of scoring. But we'll see.
Now, the interesting, 6-man, DeAndre Hunter I think he actually got some votes last year. So I think that's probably why you kind of put him in there, because he was actually considered for last year. Yeah. I picked something completely out of the blue, just like I did last year with Benedict Mathurin, right?
Yes.
Cole Anthony, man. Cole Anthony is actually now playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Yes. So I'm thinking, okay, the Milwaukee Bucks, they need some scoring punch off the bench. And that's why I thought him and Bobby Portis together would be kind of a good little duo coming off the bench. And that's why I kind of picked him as a good candidate for the 6-man. I'm just giving you my rationale. I know it's a total pie in the sky kind of like thing, but I just
I like it, and maybe I should follow suit and try to do something like that. I'm genuinely picking who I think is going to win it. And you're picking some dark horses. There's valid reasons, but you're picking dark horses.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the last coach of the year, I have Jamal Mosley of the Orlando Magic. I think that the Orlando Magic, I think, are a team on the rise. Especially now with Desmond Bane on the team. Ime Udoka, dude, that's your choice. I think that's a good
pick. That is, and what's funny, Eddie, is I struggle with that a little bit because, obviously, given the whole fiasco that happened in Boston, I don't know from a media perspective how he's viewed, and I don't know if something like that would impact, but purely on what I think Houston's going to do. And again, I want to be clear. I don't think Houston's going to win the finals, and I don't know how built they are for the postseason. But I think that they're going to have a hell of a regular season. And so that's why I picked Ime Udoka, because he's good. They're going to be second. They're probably not going to give it to Daigneault because, he just won a championship and that those things don't usually go to those type of coaches. So that's why I picked him. But we'll see. It's really tied to how Houston does this season.
Yeah, you get a lot of voter fatigue for this. I mean, Luka Doncic, honestly, he had last year probably his best statistical year, and yet he didn't win.
No, Jokic should have won last year.
He should have won it last year, man.
As great as SGA was, and he was great.
Yeah,
Jokic should have won.
I agree. So, all right, bro. So let's go to the last segment, and this is our rookie fantasy league. All right. So just for the audience here. So Twan and I did a draft right after the draft of the NBA draft. And what we did this last year, and we kind of picked a team, a team of 5 where four first rounders were picked. Twan had first pick this year. He picked, of course, Cooper Flagg. I picked Dylan Harper as that as well. But anyway, what we do here is we have kind of like our own fantasy league contest between us too. And, points are points. This is kind of the same kind of, for those of you who play daily fantasy sports, it's the same scoring system as FanDuel, where you get points are points. The rebounds are 1.2 per, and then you get 1.5 points per assist, and then you get 3 points for a block or a steal, and then -1 per turnover. So this is kind of giving you a numerical value of a player on a per game basis. Now, the numbers that you're seeing here right now is the numbers that are from preseason, as well as the summer league. Okay. And right now, this doesn't take into account any games that have already played, because all the games are starting today for the most part. Yesterday, there's only 2 games. Today, there's a lot of them, right? And some of these guys are playing tonight. But these are the numbers as of summer league as well as the preseason. So you can see right now I have a 246.57 point delta lead on Twan. You can see the totals here, that you can see the star right now on Twan's team is Cooper Flagg with 173.2 points. The guy on my squad that's the star, Con Knuppel, 241.22 points. Johnny Broom, 230. He's my second round pick, bro. Right?
Yeah.
My second round pick is my second best leading guy so far, right? But we're gonna see. I mean, injuries come into play here, bro, right? And playing time comes into play.
Playing time does as well,
right? Of course, how well the team is doing, right? Some of these guys may not get their chance, right, to play more, but this is how it's going. Your boy Trey Johnson, he really impresses me from a scoring standpoint. But what's interesting, he didn't really play that much, in the preseason. It's probably because they're trying to protect the asset. Maybe we shall see what happens, But dude, Ace Bailey looks like a player, man.
Yeah.
He looks like a player, bro. So I think that's a good pick.
Cooper barely played in the summer league, so that was
he only played like 2 games, right? Something like that for summer league, and then he played some of the preseason. So, but anyway, so this is our rookie fantasy league. Any parting shots on this, bro?
No. I'm just excited to get this going. I'm kind of looking at some of these names. I'm curious how much of an opportunity Harper's going to get at San Antonio. I think Don Knuppel will play quite a bit. Edgecombe will play quite a bit. We'll see how Murray, Boyles, and Broom. I mean, if Toronto's going to be going to make the impact, well, it's going to be interesting how that rookie plays into that. Flag obviously is going to be the starting point guard. I think Bailey's going to get a lot of playing time. I think Trey Johnson's going to get a lot of playing time. I'm a little less high on Malwatch, just on some of the preseason and some of the summer league stuff. I think he's more of a project right now.
Yeah.
And then Fleming, we'll see. Depends on what they got there in terms of opportunities for the younger players. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, I feel pretty good. I mean, I feel good about the top 3 guys: Flag, Bailey, and Trey Johnson. I think.
I think it's going to be close,
money,
man.
guys.
The Delta was worse, man. It was like over 100 points worse, and you made up that ground in the last couple games in the preseason. So, so anyway, we'll go ahead and cover this every week. All right, bro. So let me ask you: can you remove this on your end, or do I have to remove it?
How's that?
There you go. All right. Well, hey, we went ahead and did it in 47 minutes, bro. Not bad.
Good.
Right? This is our first show. This is the 60th episode. Again, these were the topics that we talked about here. We talked about opening night, the thoughts on the Warriors, the predictions that we did, end of season predictions, as well as the conference seedings. And then we just covered our rookie fantasy league. Again, we're going to go ahead and be here live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern and also 6 p.m. Pacific, live here on any of the platforms that you can think of. Just go ahead, wherever you can get your podcast is where you can go ahead and find us. You can also find us at gremlingsmedia.com. Anyway, this is episode 60. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral. I am Eddie Aparicio, and we are also known as the Cisco Kids. And we are going to go ahead and sign off and have a good rest of the week.
Good night, everyone.